I know birth rate has been a conversation. I know I have been talking about the 4B movement, but in reality, in the country that we live in right now, America, even if women wanted to have children, how could they afford it? Prices of everything, greedflation is a thing where companies are making hand over fist monies. The top people are making hand over fist money and not paying people. So people can barely afford to take care of themselves. Costs for food are up. Housing is insecure and unstable. The cost for gas is high. The cost to just, if you find childcare is already scarce, but if you find childcare, it is ridiculously expensive. The medical community is in shambles. The education community is in shambles. Infrastructure is in shambles. So, why are they talking about having more babies? People are barely surviving and scraping by, but these people want us to have more babies. Each day, there is something else that is eroding women's rights. Each day, they want women to have these babies, yet they are stripping safety nets left and right. They want to make sure that there is no gap, there's no safety net when people are one blown tire away from being poor. A lot of people are living on credit cards currently, but these people want them to have babies. Many Republican states won't expand Medicaid, but they want women to have babies. Make this make sense. Until these old dinosaurs in charge get some common sense and recognize that the economy is is pushing women who even want kids to not have kids, then we're going to keep seeing the declining birth rate. And I honestly hope that it tumbles to hell. I'm just saying that. I want it to fall because that's the only thing that gets their attention. The fact that women are not having more labor, no more wage slaves to these people because the cost of living is more expensive than it is just, it's like these people are barely surviving. Is it any wonder people don't want to have more babies because kids cost money? Kids cost money. Babies cost money. Babies cost time and energy. They need to be housed. And these people don't have an answer for real life, like reality that we live in. Yet he's sitting up here with his little board talking about the birth rate. Let's have some solutions for the people that actually live on this earthly plane right now before we start talking about the fact that we're not having more kids. The birth rate just needs to keep on declining until such time that people can live. Y'all let me know what you think about this one. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.
And it's all something almost no one here ever talks about. We're not having children. United States fertility rates have collapsed. This number's wrong. It's our latest number for last year is not 1.64, it's 1.63. France has a higher fertility rate than the United States. Even when you adjust for their immigration population, they still have a dramatically higher fertility. Most of Western Europe looks like us, and we're worse than a whole bunch of the world. How do you and I set public policy so 25 years from now, remember, Social Security is substantially a pay-as-you-go system. Today's workers are functionally paying for today's retirees. The trust fund was the shock absorber. Trust fund is disappearing. But my future generation of workers is going to be smaller. And you're already seeing this in school districts all over America, where the number of students they have are shrinking. Are we willing to have the really interesting discussion of, okay, are there things we could do economically to make it so family formation, so there's more children? There's things we could do to help, but almost every country it's tried has not been able to change fertility rates. I think in Hungary, I think I saw something that, third child, they buy you a house, fourth child, you get some sort of like prize, and it's barely ticked up their fertility rates. It's a really difficult question, happening all over the industrialized world. So if you can't really change it, do you actually build public policy to deal with it? Do you accept the fact that we're going to have a lot more automation? It means capital investment. Are we going to have to find ways to safely adopt artificial intelligence into society so the labor force is maximized in its value and what they earn and productivity? Those are policies we need to work on. You've seen the intellectual capital of the conversations we have on the floor here. How many of them are ready to actually have the reality of, hey, we need to set policy? Is this Republican or Democrat? It's demographics. It's life. And I'm going to bounce through the next two boards because there's a punchline here we need to absorb. This is a little uncomfortable, but this was deaths that are projected to exceed births. And the new math in 15 years, you got to understand what a big deal this is. I came behind this microphone a couple years ago, and I got some real crap that was sent to my office. And I think at that time I was saying, hey, in 21, 22 years, we're going to have more deaths than births in this country. And then it became 18 years. And then it became 17 years. The new math now is 15 years. In 15 years, the United States will have more deaths than births. The blip you see here is the pandemic. But if you actually look at the line, you can sort of understand, and here's our crossing. Somewhere before, a little before 2040, which is 15 years, we have more deaths than births. Now try to stabilize long-term benefits. There's ways to do it. This Congress right now is mathematically incapable of owning a calculator. But there's ways to do it. Well, we can't even put together a debt and deficit commission to have an honest conversation of what's happening in our society demographically, borrowing-wise, interest rate-wise, because maybe it'll affect the next election. Does anyone actually care about their own pensions, let alone their kids and their grandkids? Because we lie. There's not magic money out there. If this inflation cycle didn't prove, those that believed in modern monetary policy, ta-da, you got 30 months, 36 months of high inflation. If that isn't the ultimate proof that the magic money theory didn't work. And here's the punchline. Social Security actuaries is the green line. They actually had fertility rates going up. These were our baselines. The baselines are also already have continued to show that they're wrong. Be prepared over the next year to see dramatically different numbers coming at us on what our future looks like when financing this society, because our next generation is going to be smaller. It's math. There's ways to make it work. There's ways to make this a society of prosperity. It just requires intellectual capital, something I'm not sure we're ready to do. So let's do a quick run through. This was just the first 3 months.
I want to push back a little bit on Senator Braun's notion. He was pushing a line that the Biden administration is interested in abortion and not on moms. And so let me correct that. The American Rescue Plan was the first piece of legislation that was passed under the Biden administration in the 117th Congress. And my colleagues and I were here, and it passed by one vote. One vote. Every Democrat voted for it. Every Republican voted against it. The American Rescue Plan included a really important provision for moms and kids. Prior to it, Medicaid would cover a mom after delivery for 90 days. More than half the births in this country are Medicaid births. Prior to the American Rescue Plan, moms would be covered for 90 days. In the American Rescue Plan, we allowed states to expand that 90 days to a year, where the mom gets covered for a year because there's so many challenges that mothers face post-delivery. That passed by one vote. Democrats did that. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris did that. Every Republican voted against mothers. They voted against mothers. And guess what states have done with that mandate? We extended it in an appropriations bill the next year. 45 states have decided to embrace this optional mandate that we allowed them to do, embracing the Biden-Harris policy, embracing a policy the Democrats supported, and every last Republican in the Senate opposed. Mr. Chair, I imagine you've been here longer than me. There are days when you're here and you wonder if you do anything. Then there are days you're here when something happens by one vote. The American Rescue Plan. Moms get Medicaid coverage. We saved 2 million workers' pensions. Saving the Affordable Care Act in August of 2017 happened by one vote. The Inflation Reduction Act to bring down prescription drugs happened by one vote. The American Rescue Plan had another pro-mom, pro-family, pro-kid provision, the child tax credit, that reduced infant poverty by 45% within 6 months, passed by one vote. Every Democrat supported it. Every Republican opposed it. I gather from your testimony, Professor Myers, that one of the reasons that women often cite for terminating pregnancy is financial pressure. The financial pressure of health care expenses, the financial pressures of raising kids and finding child care. Knowing that you're going to be covered for health care in the year after delivery, knowing that you can get a child tax credit to help you with the expenses, these are the kinds of policies that are pro-mom and pro-family and might even help the U.S. deal with the declining birth rate and kind of turn it around. And we could start to have a growing birth rate again if families felt that they had a financial cushion and the financial pressure wasn't causing them to consider terminating a pregnancy. Am I right about that?
Yes, I think you are, Senator. Thank you for the question. American birth rates have been plummeting, and the reasons are very complex, but I think we should all be very concerned about that.
A video is going viral of a member of Congress trying to scare everyone about the falling birth rates in America. The problem with this is the only thing that this negatively affects is capitalism and billionaires. It's a positive for everyone else in the entire country. With birth rates falling, that means there's less competition at work, and that means that there's more people that are likely to get hired into high-paying positions than there were before. This man was saying that teachers are already noticing that there is a decrease in students enrolling in public school. That means there's more focus on kids in school, there's less packed classrooms, and teachers can actually do more of their job. Whenever they talk about falling birth rates, the only people that are scared are the billionaires. And I know that maybe down the road, hundreds or thousands of years, it could potentially be an issue. But for the short term and the way people are being treated in America right now, the fact that there's going to be less people, less traffic, less competition for jobs, less kids in school, that's a positive almost across the board for everyone else. So when you see this going viral, don't get worried about it. This is a good thing.
We're not having children.